are recording.
All right, nobody say fuck.
Oh shit.
Not on this call. Not with this crowd. Hey guys, welcome to your October. It'll be a spooky, spooktacular of information for you. Thank you for giving us an hour of your Monday night. It is jam-packed full of information, so we will try to plow through this as quickly as we can. But as I think all of you all are tracking, there's a lot of important doings and a shakings afoot. Before we hop into any of those, though, I just want to say a very happy birthday to your friend and mine, Bob Stevenson, out of Houston. A lot of our Houston members, if you're on here, probably your first Team Rubicon contact was an email or a phone call from Bob. So I believe he's all of 35 today. Happy birthday, brother. Thanks for being here. Here is your October update format. We'll start out with some nonsense, then drive into our op stats, roll through our different functional areas and geographic areas, wrap it up with some announcements and recognition. So we'll try to make this go quick. Here we go. Teddy Moments and also me. If you guys are new to us, that is my son. He is 3 months old as of yesterday. And he is a useful marker for time because the last 3 months have been an insane blur of nonstop hurricane action, which is continuing for us right into the month of October. I kind of like to use this as a measuring stick for a couple of reasons. One, because it is impossible for me to wrap my head around the amount of work that you guys have done in the time that he has been alive. When I think about the homes that you've impacted, the operations you've launched, and the lives that you've changed in this time, it's pretty powerful. But also is a very necessary reminder, not only to me, but to everyone on this call, that I know there is a lot going on. But Apri will touch on this later. Make sure that you guys are also touching base with yourselves, with your families. Obviously, we're going through a lot of stuff right now. But we also need to be taking care of ourselves and our families. So remember to take those 5 minutes to unplug, to check in, to see how things are going in your lives. Because, you know, kids grow up fast, life changes fast, and we don't want you guys to miss all the good stuff that's going on around you just because Team Rubicon is so fun and exciting right now. And it is fun and exciting right now. And with that, I will hand it over to the standing orders. I didn't hand it over yet. I apologize. If you guys haven't seen our standing orders, this is just sort of our version of the general orders. Everybody who was in the Army had to memorize these in basic training. But these are basically, if you're like, hey, I'm new to Team Rubicon, I'm not sure what to do. What are we doing here? This is what we do right now. Job number one is to continue to kick the shit out of the coronavirus because we can only do what we do if we keep that thing in its cage. We have a lot of protocols in place. Learn them, love them, live them, because that is what allows us to continue to operate safely and to help the people who are hurting as a result of these storms. Kick the shit out of Laura is number two, because that's our big active operation. We've got 2 FOBs running out of Lake Charles and Orange. You'll hear about those in a little bit. But that is the main effort of the entire organization right now, and South Central is representing strong there. So that is our job number 2, is whatever way we can, get down there, get people down there, support that work. Job 3, kick the shit out of Delta, because we see Delta churning up out of the Gulf with the spaghetti line has it pointed right at the great city of New Orleans right now. We're hoping that changes. I'm sure that Mike Webb, our weather girl, will have some good updates for us. But if it hits, we're going to be ready for it, and it's going to be because of all the work that you guys are doing. And then just our last but certainly not least is to continue to be ready to respond to whatever disasters hit us in the next month. You guys are the powers that be when it comes to that. And with that, I will hand it over to Steve.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for getting on. Really appreciate it. You're going to see on here that we've had some incredible numbers. The latest map there that was published on the 2nd, you can see the Neighbors Helping Neighbors and the EFAs, and that those colors are just filling in more and more every day. We're looking at a little over almost 8,000 Neighbors Helping Neighbors. So if you've got stuff that you have not put in, by all means, plug them in. Let's see if we can breach the 8,000 mark. You're going to see what's really exciting is the fact that in a COVID environment, we've run 32 response operations. And as you guys know, between South Central and Southeast, that's the predominant amount of that work. And so I want to just congratulate all of you guys between the multiple tornadoes, the multiple hurricanes, and everything else that we've been doing. It's been an awesome year. Rebuild is back up and running. We'll have some really cool news on that in the coming next couple months. But we're going to see more opportunities to get involved in a different way than before. And so you'll get to see some rebuild stats and some rebuild opportunities come that I hope to add to this slide in the future. New numbers, again, the little breakdown that you'll see, that is the latest as of today on the Neighbors Helping Neighbors. You do not have to deploy to get out there and have a difference. So this is helping out in your immediate area. You can see a lot of the opportunities and the options that are being done. If you're new and have questions on that, hit anybody up, hit myself up, any of the other staff, any of the other volunteer leaders, and we'll get you absolutely plugged in.
All right, good evening, everybody. For North Texas and Oklahoma, the last couple of days, we had a Grab Your Go Bag session. We're going to be hosting another one in early November. But the big thing that we've been doing up here, twice in October, we had a Crying Eagle information session. For anybody that has deployed or is interested in deploying, please join in. This has actually turned out to be a very big, very successful event. I think the first iteration we had like 26 people show up. The second one's closer to like 60, and I'm expecting it to get bigger from there. So that's been the last couple of days. Next 30 days, we've got a couple more. The 27th of October is TBD. Just depends on when Crying Eagle demobes. But once the operation wraps up, if we get our trailer back before it responds to another operation, we'll be doing a trailer and cache, not cache, inventory. For current operations, we're still running the Tarrant Area Food Bank, but given the changes to the Kick the King operations, that'll be wrapping up until on 16 October, which is a Friday, and after that, it'll be a Neighbors Helping Neighbors event, so it'll be on an individual basis. And lastly, big news, we welcome Daniel Shaw from Flower Mound, Texas. He is the new DFW Comms Coordinator. That's all I've got up here.
Thank you, Dennis. I believe next up is the great state of South Texas.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sweet. All right, so we've been a little busy working on, is there an echo or is it just me? It sounds funny.
There's like a weird buzzing in the background, but we're rolling with it.
Okay, a couple of colleges recently to help get some of their students out, and becoming gray shirts, and then getting them out in the field to volunteer. So there's a few things working there. We're working with our local VOAD to help update some of our guidelines. And then of course, we have quite a few, local TRGH and South Texas gray shirts out supporting, sorry, the echo is fucking with me. Supporting the remote and field support for Crying Eagle. So a few things. I know I mentioned to you guys a couple times about the Soldiers Angels events that we're hoping to kick off in the greater Houston area. That's still in the planning phases. They've actually kind of partnered with the Houston Food Bank, and through some sort of a grant that they've received to help get support that way. So I think it's going to end up turning into a bigger event than we had all planned on. So it's still kind of up in the air with the timeline now, but it's still rolling. I just don't know when it's going to hit the ground for us to begin getting gray shirts out to help with it. But more information to come on that. I did mention, I think maybe last month, I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the all hands, but we started some initial conversations with an organization called United Spinal. And contrary to what it might seem like, they're an organization that primarily supports their clientele with like integrating into society after like disability and injury. So one of their primary focuses is like the mental health aspect and reintegration, like I just said. So part of what they wanted to work with us on is to help get their clientele out in the community, and with volunteer type work. So it looks very promising, and we'll probably pilot something here in Houston, see how it goes, and then hopefully if it goes well, we'll push it national. So there's a few other things we're working locally, a few potential service projects and things like that you'll see pop up on the calendar if we can get them off the ground. And then we've had quite a few new applicants recently, so we're processing currently 7 new leaders, a new membership deputy, PIO, a guy in comms, liaison, and a few more. So that's plugging along there and doing good, I think, to build depth in our ranks here. So that's it for me. Sorry about the echo.
I think you're the only one who hears the echo. So
Okay, that's
we're all just wondering why you're talking so weirdly. No, you're fine. Thanks, Heather. Rolling down to Arkansas and Louisiana. I believe Evan hit me up before the meeting. I know that she's had a family issue tonight. I didn't know, Michelle or David, is either of you on to cover down, or should I take this one?
I'm on.
All right, Dudette, you want to tell us about the great state of Louisiana?
All right, so we are still incredibly busy with Crying Eagle, trying to bring everyone up that we can, and trying to just keep that as supported as best we can, trying to find everybody who we've had several people, a bunch of people reach out and be like, I want to deploy, and they're now kind of getting the grasp of, hey, you've got to actually get deployable. So we're bringing some gray shirts out of the woodworks for this, so that's good. We're starting to set up regular events that are sort of the virtual Grab Your Go Bag, as well as the Coffee with a Gray Shirt. The goal is to have these recurring so regularly that as soon as somebody joins, we can point them to the next one, and that there will be at least one person from leadership in there to meet and greet and get associated with. So we're looking forward to that. Being down here in Louisiana, there's a lot of there's oil companies here, and it's a lot of employees here. So we have old partnerships with several of the oil companies, and Evan has done a great job in reaching out and rekindling some of them. So we're probably going to see some of the more organized joining of groups again. So we're looking forward to that. Building again, redeveloping and reinforcing the relationships with the emergency managers that we have met before, and now dealt with several times in gray skies. And so we're trying to build those relationships again in blue skies and really solidify them. But of course, we have gray skies headed our way yet again. For anyone who's looked at the news or just wait for Mike Webb's report, right now we've got I don't know if we're calling it a dual system, because Delta is going to eat Gamma, but Delta and Gamma, or some combination of, is about to head our way. And so that's going to be interesting in terms of what it does to Operation Crying Eagle. And if it actually tracks and continues to track east as far as it is. The New Orleans area has been very lucky in ducking several of the most recent storms, and if it doesn't duck this time, then that's a whole other ballgame. So might be a whole other initiative coming up, and everyone stay tuned, but we're working on it. That's Louisiana.
Thank you, Michelle. And if she got you guys worried, don't worry. There is an evac plan in place for the Crying Eagle folks. Big ups to Cindy and Krista and all the folks who worked real hard on getting that set up. We have not had to use it yet. The billets they're in withstood a direct hit from a Cat 4, so we're pretty confident about where they're situated. But if we do need to move folks out, we can. All righty. Keeping on our rolling through, New Mexico and West Texas.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here with today's New Mexico update. Continual support with Santa Fe for Kick the King. There'll be a further update on the status of those in a couple of slides. Also really excited to kind of reflect on some of the metrics. In the past 60 days, New Mexico has had 44 new gray shirts register in EMS, and 94% of them have already had outreach, which is truly amazing, especially considering that Yvonne has been deployed to Crying Eagle. So fantastic job there, and we've got some good momentum to capitalize on. Also, New Mexico chainsaws were sent down to Orange to support Crying Eagle. This was a huge force multiplier because some of their saws were down. They had a 461 that was down, and this enabled them to create a 5th chainsaw team. So excited to help support the ongoing efforts there. That's it for New Mexico.
Thank you, Amanda. And if you guys aren't tracking on that, Amanda just returned from her honeymoon, which she went on solo to Orange, Texas, leaving her beau sad and alone in Albuquerque.
She was well supervised.
All right, over to current ops. As Steve, is this you or Elizabeth?
Elizabeth.
Hey everyone. So current ops, as you guys have heard, we've got a lot going on in response to Hurricane Laura and Crying Eagle. South Central has had a great turnout just for an operation here in our front yard. So we've got, out of the 373 gray shirts that have deployed down to Lake Charles, 79 of those have been from South Central, and they've got a lot of shit done with 143 work orders completed in Orange. Out of the 168, over a third of those were from South Central. So I know Lek and I think Eric's down there right now, and Jen was down there, and just like looking at the people across the bottom of my screen, Anthony was down out in Crying Eagle. So you guys are kicking ass, getting out in the field. There's still time. I know for right now, those are demobbing at the end of the month, according to EMS. So if you've got gray shirts who want to get out there, make sure that they're attending Dennis's sessions that he's got coming up, but also continue to get down there. And if you can all see this lovely photo of Larry instructing or overseeing some saw work, in the background right above the word Texas is an entire class of sawyers being trained. So there's been a lot of great shit getting done down there as far as upskilling gray shirts. So keep up the good work down there and get in the field if you can while the time is there. Otherwise, you might have the opportunity with Delta as it comes rolling through. With that, we'll go to the next slide, which is our Kick the King operations. So I think, as Dennis mentioned, the Tarrant Area Food Bank, along with all of our Kick the King operations, are officially going to demob on October 18th. That's across the country. So we will be following suit here in South Central. A huge shout out to everyone who has pitched in long hours and countless time and just backlifting work since we kicked off these ops in March. So since then, TR as a whole has packaged 8.63 million meals, and we've delivered nearly 40 million pounds of food, which is amazing. These were all communities who were desperately in need, and we showed up. So as you can see in some of the photos, we do still have 3 ops running, and shout out to the TFLs who are going to be running those through to the finish line on the 18th. Gary, who is digging in there in his awesome on-brand face mask, has demobbed the TDEM EOC earlier, or I guess at the end of September. With that, all of these operations can transition into a Neighbors Helping Neighbors, like was stated earlier. If you still want to get out there to help, you can sign up with the food banks in your local area, and you can register that as Neighbors Helping Neighbors. On that, I will pass it along.
All right. Mike had a conflict, and Rick is out on IC duty out in Orange doing good things. So I'm going to take this So in our planning world, obviously you saw the map right there. We are open for business. We got 2 storms in the Gulf. Anything can happen. It's 2020, as we know. All the same rules apply. If you're a part of Druid Again, if you're a part of Crying Eagle, or anything that we did for Damn the Torpedoes, you know how the MPT stuff is going to be working right now. It's actually been working really well. And I think we have a really good process moving forward, blending with National. Mike Webb is going to be putting together an intro to ham radio class. It is not going to be necessarily a certification class, but it's definitely going to set you up with an understanding of it and maybe get some of you on the path to potentially go get your ham radio certification, and you can talk about that pathway. There's another opportunity. If you get these slides, the actual words, stormwater versus floodwater is a hyperlink, but it's also in roll call, of course, on the calendar. On the 8th, we have a certified floodplain manager who's putting together a class on what stormwater versus floodwater looks like, how to track it, how to predict it, looking at the geography and getting an understanding of how floodplains work or potential floodplains that aren't classified. It's a really cool opportunity from a subject matter expert to do a little bit of learning. If you're available, I want to highly encourage you to do that. There is about 90 seats open at this time. There's about 60-something people already attending it. So it should be pretty exciting. Elizabeth, I'm going to give her a shout out on this. She's been doing an awesome job. She finished the white paper. She's done a stakeholder review, and she is in the process of working with tech and the national team to figure out what the best way forward to establish, if you're EMS, think in EMS terms, reusable TR sites is the goal, so we don't have to re-enter them, and we want to be able to save FOB information so that we can simply plug it in and be able to look and identify how many people have slept there, how many showers, a lot of relevant information for anybody that's been a part of a mission planning team. It'll streamline the mission planning process for us when we look at ADVON. So I'm hoping to see some good things come. Understand that this is a big project as it shapes a lot of TR. So the bigger the impact, the longer the time it takes to actually develop the process. But I'm looking forward to seeing that come true. If you know anybody, if you are interested, we are always looking for planners. So we're always open. And as always, the planners assemble call is the second Monday, 7 to 8. Next slide, please. On to Mr. Tom Walmsley, newly married.
Good evening. The numbers in ADVON Recon and the weekend class have kind of trailed off. So with more storms coming up, please sign up. I think we only had like 12 or something this weekend, so there's definitely seats. I want to look to put together this tabletop exercise planning team in the next few weeks. We'll let Steve talk about the new instructors, but the big thing is the ICS updates. I had a meeting with Jack and Terry last week, and we have our next meeting on Thursday. We're going to be offering 2 Team Rubicon virtual 300 classes, one towards the end of this month, and then one the following month. We're going to kind of do this like East Coast, West Coast delivery with the South Central kind of splitting it for timing. But we'll get more information out on that once everything's finalized, but we're trying to do it where it works best with everyone's schedules as far as evenings go. And then just as we mentioned last month, the state of New Mexico is fully on board with Team Rubicon folks jumping into the classes. So if you guys see anything on the website there, the 300, 400, G191, they are offered here in New Mexico, but you guys are welcome to jump in, and fuck you, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can get into those classes, if you have questions on any of the field ops classes, by all means, hit myself, hit up, and we'll get you an answer that is appropriate for the direction we're trying to go. And I just want to give a shout out to the new instructors. Trish Lucas, Rick Rosen successfully completed the Train the Trainer for Safety Officer, and Jen and Joya are the new LSC instructors. So if you have not attended those classes, hopefully you get in there, and hopefully you'll see some friendly faces, part of the instructor cadre. Congratulations to those 4. And we have more instructor classes coming, Recon Advon, and we just wrapped up the PSC one, got pushed. So Recon Advon will be canvassing names soon. So if you're interested, get qualified. That's all I have on that.
Over to Laws.
Anthony Lawson, good sir.
I can only see like half the.
Yeah, your slide's cut in half, Drew. Not sure why.
Refresh.
That's a tech thing, right? We can blame Ed. Is that how that works?
You bet. Sorry, I was looking the other way when it happened.
Did that fix it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so currently in South Central, we have 3 trailers deployed, and there are 4 saw kits deployed. We have the DFW, the Houston, the Mystery Baton Rouge saw kit, and then the New Mexico group was gracious enough to send us their saw kit down to Orange. Quarterly inventories are now due, so get them in within the next 10 or 15 days. If you need assistance, definitely reach out to me. There is a new guide, manual, and FAQ folder that Cindy created under the South Central Logistics folder, and it has several help guides on the 213 and inventory process. And we are also looking for a new cache manager for the Louisiana cache that is outside Baton Rouge, I believe in Hammond, Louisiana. So if you have anyone that you'd like to suggest for it, or just get this information out to anyone in the area, you can send them to me, Evan, or Michelle, and we'll go from there on them.
All right, over to our training shop and the recently refreshed and rested Mike Shank.
Hey everybody, there's a little bit of crossover here with Tom's ops slide, just so you know, because a lot of the field operations courses are the only ones that are in town right now. Starting in the center swim lane there, we are going to do a site survey, train the trainer, early November, weekend time frame. Expect that to be about 10 to 6 Central Time both days. So for those folks that have taken site survey, maybe even had some experience, just train the trainer. If you want to join the instructor world, is available to you. TR Instructor 1 is going to be waived for this particular virtual train the trainer. We'll police that up on the back end. So if you want to be considered for that, please reach out to Gary Curry directly. He's our cadre coordinator for site survey. Tom talked about the ICS 300 virtual classes. Those are the dates that National Training put out today at a weekly update. You got to block off some time for these if you're interested. The Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights will be 3 or 4 hours, and then all day Saturday is how those dates line out there for the 2 planned offerings. Just a little roll up on what y'all have done as a territory in terms of the field leadership courses. The numbers qualified and the 4 courses are listed there, and the number of instructors we have internal to South Central, which is important because eventually these courses will roll down to be territory level efforts. We do have the planning section chief train the trainer this coming weekend with a couple of more South Central folks in there. And then as Tom and Steve said, we get the Recon Advon 2 weeks later, the 24th and 25th of October. Again, TR Instructor 1 not required. You'll be able to teach the virtual classes without TR Instructor 1 for those. And then on the back side, when we're back in person, we'll police up the TR Instructor 1 and allow that to be in-person certification as well. Top right corner, there's a retrain the trainer for TR Instructor 1 current instructors. The course content has changed considerably. We did a retrain effort back in June, was attended by about 52% of the instructors across the nation. This is the next two opportunities, if you will, to get familiar with the new content and be certified and ready to go when we turn TR Instructor 1 back on. As Tom mentioned, we're at about 50% student saturation on all the field leader courses and including site survey. It's kind of a normal fall thing, to be frank, but there are plenty of seats open for all those classes, a few of which require ICS 300 and or ICS 300 waiver. You can read those details on the events themselves in roll call. If you have finished one of these classes, just as a heads up, we don't talk a lot about COVID-19 restrictions and how they affect the otherwise, normal situations for field leaders. So it kind of behooves you to dig into that document before you hold one of these positions. I would say especially mandatorily if you're going to be a logistics section chief in the field. Recon Advon's probably high on the list too, since you're kind of operating on your own. And then the planning and safety, equally important there towards the end. So keep an eye on that. Get into it and read it before you have to. It's kind of a long document to dig through if you wait till the last minute. Still got some vacancies in the shop. Look for cadre leads to join Gary in leading the instructors for the territory. And then our state training shops are still available for consideration. Big thanks to Dan Shaw, Pam Zutek. They both passed the planning section chief course this weekend. Had great contributions and made the course enjoyable for the instructors. And then my last shout out is to Mike Webb, who has instructed the planning section chief course every time I've asked. He's come in and filled some holes for us, and I think he's now facilitated that course probably 4 or 5 times. So that's the way it should be for the people who have the most info, and he's leading by example there. And I'll take any questions you might have for training. If you have any for site survey, Gary's probably on as well.
All right, hearing none, I will just double tap on the importance of these field leadership classes that we're offering. Filling these roles is super important for us, and the deeper we get into these big ops, the tougher it gets to find qualified folks. If you think that could be you, and if you're interested, these courses are the best way to get you guys prepped so you can get out there and crush it on the ground. Anybody who's sat in one of those seats can tell you it's a pretty tough deployment. Long days, and there's lots of nuts and bolts you need to wrap your heads around. So the training is super important. All right, and with that, we will keep on rolling. Jen, I did see you lurking in the chat, but I know you're deployed. Are you able to speak, ma'am?
I am here and I'm ready.
Excellent. Well, the floor is yours.
All right. I am currently in Alabama with Damn the Torpedoes. So I wanted to give a quick shout out. They are doing flights to this op as well. And there's still quite a bit of work to be done here. With that said, I didn't get a chance today to change a lot of the slide, but that's okay because I will use every opportunity that I can to remind everybody that we are all part of membership and we are all responsible for, reminding gray shirts how great they are, for getting gray shirts to the places they want to be by helping them to get deployable and by helping them get to classes and to training that they're interested in. So please, just remember, every time you talk to a gray shirt is an opportunity for you to find out a little bit more about what they're interested in. And if you don't have the answer, then lead them in the direction of someone that might have it. And I promise you, I don't have all the answers, but I will certainly work my very hardest to get them for you. A couple of links still up there on the slide for more information that you can dive into. And there are still membership vacancies throughout the territory, whether they are at the territory level or at the state levels. I would also like to just really thank everyone because, again, you know, I was in Orange last week and the week before that, and even here now, I'm seeing the fruits of our labor, and what we do in membership is important, and what we do as leaders is very important. And I appreciate each and every one of you and the efforts that you're making. Our membership team in South Central Territory freaking kicks ass, and I couldn't be any more proud of them if I had birthed you myself, but thank God I didn't. And our next membership territory sync is going to be October the 26th. I think that's really teeny tiny on my phone. So if I'm wrong, please go off whatever date it says there on your slide. And that's all I have for you guys tonight.
Thank you, Jen. I will also add a quick plug for new leader onboarding this coming Saturday, the 10th. There's a one-day, all-day massive event where you can knock out all of the classes if you haven't taken them yet. Get in the roll call, get signed up, and learn a little bit about being a leader in this great organization. And I think if I can work my magic mouse here, we are over to tech. Ed Genko on the line. What do you got, sir?
Hey, I'm here. I've got my Coke Zero I'm going to drink while I'm giving this. And you go to the next slide. That was for you, Drew.
And I appreciate it.
Yep. So, hey, I don't have a lot to cover this month, but a few things I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. The TRLC content is now available. And if you get this slide deck, that is a link right to the content. You can go and it has every lecture, and it also has the award winners. So you could go see who won the awards if you weren't able to attend, or if you were able to attend and you just want to go watch something again. So that's available. Also, we have a new external access section of SharePoint, and there's an Expensify FAQ on there. So if you, let's say you want it for yourself to look at, or if you meet a gray shirt on an op, and because you're a leader, you get a question about Expensify, you can give them that link. That also is a live link if you get this package that you can click on. But there's also a bit.ly right below it, which is short. It's easier to type, that you can give out, and that will go to that Expensify, and it's a PowerPoint presentation about Expensify. So that's great that we now have an external place where they don't have to be leaders to get in. It's open to everybody, and they can go in and see how to do Expensify. On the right there, just some roll call updates, just kind of for awareness. When you sign up, you're now required to put a phone number when you register for an event. And gray shirts can also designate if they require support for a sleep apnea machine, if they're going to do an overnight stay. So those two things were added on roll call for if you sign up for overnight ops. New qualifications were added on to EMS. So two were renamed. So regional chainsaw is now chainsaw instructor, and damage assessment is now called site survey. Two new qualifications, command and control and advanced Sawyer 1, were added. And then just a reminder, I covered it last month and showed how to get to them last month, but that we have new dashboards for my metro, my state, and my territory, that when you go to them, they will go to whatever metro, state, or territory you live in and give you all kinds of technical information about what's going on in your area. And that is all I had. I didn't have a lot this month. It's been quiet, which is a nice change.
Except for when Microsoft literally died.
Oh yeah, we had that too, but we're all back. So I forget about those things the next day. Yeah, Microsoft did literally die, so for a day. And I won't tell you who sent me the message that they took it as permission to take the night off, but somebody did send that to me.
That was me. I took the night off because what's the point?
Yeah. So okay.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Wellness is Miss Click on the call.
I sure am. All right, guys, so giving y'all an update on wellness. Not a huge update here from last month. Our next game show is coming up, though, October 12th. It got pushed a little bit with all of the craziness going on with the ops, so hopefully that one sticks. For those of y'all who have not seen who is playing this time, it is a true newlywed game. We've got Cal and Mel versus Veronica and Pat, so it should be a really hilarious, great time. So please sign up for that and roll call if you have not already. The big thing with that, though, is we would love to see some new gray shirts on this. It's great when the leaders show up because we all have a great time and know each other, but we really want some newbies to come out and meet some new people. So please encourage new gray shirts or just anyone you think would, benefit from getting to know some of these great people. We've also got several workshops that are rolling out. I am personally working on a resiliency one with a couple of different people, and our hope is to have a product within the next 2 weeks so that we might be able to present it starting in November. So kind of be on the lookout for that. They've got some other ones coming down the pipeline, including a COVID one, dealing with the stress of it, a post-deployment blues, and of course the burnout workshop that we've been kind of doing here in South Central anyway. We still have the care packages and cards going out. So if y'all know of somebody who needs a care package, could really just use a little bit of encouragement, please send them my way. And we're still trying to build up our resource guide and trying to get some Wellness Wednesday stuff out to y'all. We do have a couple of new leaders. I don't believe I saw any of them on the call tonight, but we've got Sherry, Corin, and Jeremy, they all kind of rhyme, all of which are in some form or fashion involved in the mental health world and looking forward to jumping in. We are also going to be bugging Mobe here in the next week or so. One of our hopes is that we can start to connect with the South Central Gray Shirts as they're coming back from the ops, kind of check in with their Gray Shirt experience as well as just how they're doing amid COVID. And the last thing, I wanted to share a text message that I got from one of my therapist's employees this week. And she said, I got an email last week about a free online course for 6 continuing eds on burnout. And then I realized I'm too burnt out for a 6-hour course on burnout, so I took a nap instead. This, I felt like, was such a good picture of what is going on in the world right now. People are very burnt out and tired, and not even from doing a lot of stuff, but from not doing a lot of stuff. So if this is you, please consider reaching out to myself or one of the wellness team. Let us just chat about what's going on, give you some ideas of how you can get involved in TR, get out on an op. If you can't get out on an op, finding other ways to get involved, or maybe attend the burnout workshop and figure out what your next move is. So that is the wellness update.
Thank you, Apri. That made me think my wife just was reading me a New York Times article about our newer, gentler army, which is now encouraging nap times, yoga, and journaling to battle burnout as well. So I feel like burnout battling is a big problem. All right, over to our comms call. Continuing to kind of ask you guys for some signal boosts on some of our larger organizational initiatives. Mission Overwatch is officially wrapped, but it is still open both for donations and for the matching challenges. So far it has raised $45K, which is pretty awesome. But that PXG $2 million match is still open. And then Gerber just came on with a $10K match over the next 2 weeks. So if you donate $1 this week, that means that Team Rubicon would get $3. So if you guys can share that stuff on your social networks and help pay some bills in TR. We're spending money like a boat on fire these days to try to respond to all these hurricanes. Some other things just to be aware of. You probably saw some traffic from Jake over the last couple of days about the Start Small initiative, which is from the Twitter guy. I forgot his last name, but his first name is Jack. But it's $1 billion that they've set aside to donate to organizations battling COVID. So Team Rubicon is taking a swing at getting a piece of that to help us kind of continue some of the stuff that we've been working. Then last but not least, just continuing to raise the alarm that we'd love to get more bodies down to Laura, more bodies down to Alabama, and Florida for Dan the Torpedoes. I know the billeting number is available, and I know the number of people there. And both those ops can definitely use more gray shirts, swinging saws and hammers to help those folks out. I'm pretty sure that the way things are trending, we're definitely going to run out of bodies or money before we run out of work. So let's try to at least keep one of those staffed up as best we can. Other things that I'm offering to each of you, my lovely friends, is we are in high demand for both reflections and personal stories, as well as some peer recognition. Those links are live and will take you straight to the tools to get some of that stuff done. So when we share this deck later, you can just click on them, and I'll drop them in the chat as well. But behind the photos that you see there are handsome young men, Larry from Albuquerque and Luke from Tulsa, both of whom were recently prominently featured all across TR Media, telling their stories. If you heard, Luke talking about Special Forces mosquitoes, or Larry calmly talking while wood's flying by his head, as they kind of reported live from the field. We want more of you guys to be featured that way, more of your friends to be featured that way. The way we do that is if we know about it, and the way we know about it, if you guys pass it up via reflections and via the veteran recognition tools. So please use those. And then last but certainly not least, the Old Faithfuls Facebook and the newsletters that the Metro teams are working on are huge ways to get out those stories as well. We've seen some really awesome work done in that arena. But continuing to tell our story is the best way to get more gray shirts into the fight and to get more dollars into the organization's coffers so we can afford to continue to get gray shirts into the fight. Before I dive into this slide, I did have a quick alibi. Michelle hit me up and said David was on the chat to report out in Arkansas. So David, if you're still here, did you want to report out or did I miss my window?
Yeah, I can report out. I can report out. So we're continuing to march. I want to give a shout out to Eric Owens. He's down there learning logs, learning by drinking from a fire hose. So he's trying to get out there. I know he's been struggling with the surgery and all that stuff in the past, so he's able to get out there and get shit done. Got a few things coming down in Arkansas. I've been invited to speak at the state legislature on the Senate floor, and then there's talks with me going to DC to speak to present to Congress coming up here within the next year. Get some meetings coming up with Walmart at the EOC there. So there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pike. So we're continuing to march. Feeding ops are going good. We're almost done. It's bittersweet, but it's we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So other than that, that's all we've got that I could think of, unless I'm forgetting something, which I know I am, but I don't have my notes. So
forgetting something is the story of my life, as demonstrated by the fact that I skipped over you earlier. So thank you for.
I have an update on my son. He's good to go. So long story short, he's got a pain tolerance really high. He came to us 2 weeks ago Monday saying he had pain in his chest from his bars. He has pectus excavatum. Don't ask me how to spell that. Look it up. So my wife took him to the hospital, did x-rays. She sent a picture to the surgeon in Virginia, asked if you want the CD-ROM. His exact words were, no, just bring it in the office with you when you come next week. The bars had rotated. They were pulling on his, it was basically, if it could have rotated much more, it could have punctured his lung. It had been really bad. So they flew out Wednesday. We closed on a house on Wednesday. Never try to move, close on the house when your spouse is leaving town and leave you home as a single dad with a 6-year-old. So who's going on 17? That was fun, let me tell you. So yeah, he's good. He's hungry. He's a little sore. So, but he's continuing to march. He's doing good. So he's asking when he can play football. I said at the minimum, minimum, be Friday, be the soonest he can start doing anything. So other than that, we're doing good.
I'm glad to hear Tony's doing better, man. I'm sure that he got that pain tolerance from you. All right. So we are all gray. This is something I'm going to add into the mix. One of the due-outs from the national conference that you guys who were attending will remember was some greater discussion around diversity and inclusion in Team Rubicon, known and recognized shortfall that we haven't done enough homework on, so we're continuing to drive on that effort. A couple of small but notable wins as we drive in that direction, one at the territory level and then one from the national level. Territory level, we all kind of came together and decided to hop into a book club to help discuss some of the experiences in the past in our territory in particular. The first meeting of that is scheduled for 10/16 to discuss the first two sections of Rising Tide, which is the story of the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927. Pretty seminal event with lasting impacts to this day. If you guys didn't get in on that in the beginning, then please hit me up. We'll get you an invite. It might be too late for us to get you a copy, but it is widely available for not too much money. So it is pretty easy in if you're looking to hop into that. Other sort of big news from Team Rubicon Greater. Team Rubicon has joined the 100 CEO Pledge, which is to support a PricewaterhouseCoopers Fellowship on Diversity and Inclusion. To that end, we have coughed up 2 staff members for a 1-year full-time fellowship. They're going to go out and kind of work with some of the best and brightest of some pretty major corporations, Fortune 500 company type, and they will be working on this initiative all year. And then they will take what they have learned back here. So Nicole Green, my boss up until about last week when she left to do this fellowship, and T-Bone, who many of you guys know from the Houston Rebuild, Tiara Johnson, they will be representing Team Rubicon as a part of this fellowship. It's a pretty significant effort from some pretty major companies to help support this. It's pretty awesome that Team Rubicon is a part of it, and that we have some pretty awesome ladies who are going to go out there and rock it and represent us. So I'm really excited for them, for that opportunity. I'm really excited to see what they bring back to us. Next slide. I'm talking to myself here, don't worry. This I'm going to hand over to Mr. Steve Fleming to give us the recognition.
I'll be taking that one, Drew.
Oh, my bad. Dennis, this is all you, buddy.
My man.
So for this month's recognition, we'd like to share a pretty inspirational story. It was written as part of an incident report down there in Crying Eagle, which usually makes people, but this one's good. It started out, said, we had a Sawyer responding to a work order on Operation Crying Eagle in Orange County when 2 gray shirts heard an alarm coming from the house 2 homes down. We called 911. These gray shirts reacted and witnessed a lady in pain walking around in the front of the home. So they led her out of the home to a chair when they observed a second lady with a baby and ultimately brought her out of the home as well. Assessing injuries, the second lady had received burns to both hands and feet in addition to her right foot. Retrieving the first aid kit, they kept her calm through prayer and beginning initial treatment of her wounds and reassurance. Once first responders arrived, they were briefed on the situation. Listening attentively, they were able to notify her husband at work, informing him of what had happened so that he could meet her at the hospital. And this one's a direct quote. It says, probably the thing that blessed me the most in my life, is that my wife said to me when I left, I really feel God is going to use you to comfort someone this week. I thought it would be one of the many people that we were able to serve this week, but in the end, we're at the right place at the right time, and we're able to provide comfort. Each member of the team responded calmly, assessed the situation, kept safe, and we were able to really impact someone's life. So tonight, we recognize 2 of our very own South Central Gray Shirts, Glenn Williams and Mick Brannon. Mick wasn't able to join us tonight, but we do have Glenn Williams here, and we'd like to recognize him. So if you'd all join me in unmuting your mics, let's give him a hearty South Central 1. Ready?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
It's all you, Glenn.
Well, I appreciate that. I really don't deserve anything on that because I can tell you that those Swampers, those 3 Swampers, were the real heroes in this, especially Mick. I think I told this a couple nights ago on that other meeting. I was spotting, so I had ear protection on. I was concentrating on what my saw-2 was doing. And he had a pole saw. We were in a tight space. And it wasn't until I turned around and realized I had no swampers. They were already gone up the street. That, you know, by the time I got up there, they had the people out of the house. And we were just there to basically help whatever Mick was being. He's medically trained. He's a volunteer fireman. You know, we basically just shuttled some water up from the truck. Got a first aid kit. And, the scariest part for me was the boy, the 2-year-old baby, was sound asleep. We thought he had smoke inhalation. That was the scariest part for me, to see that child kind of limp in the woman's arms. But it turned out he was just asleep, thankfully. So that was something I'll never forget. And it was really something to see those 3 swampers do what they did it calmly. They really helped that lady out, got her calm, because she was really, really hysterical and in shock. And Mick was a rock star that day. He really was. He's the one who deserves all the credit. And Glenn Melvin and it was Michael. I can forget his last. There was 2 Micks, 2 Glens on that SAW team, so it was a little confusing. Michael Davis. Those 3 guys were the ones that really jumped into action. And JC and I just kind of came up after the fact in a lot of ways. We were there. They already had him out of the house. So. Any questions?
Dennis,
actually, RIC right there, Lek.
Can I just add real quick that, most of y'all know I've had the opportunity to do this a bunch. And a couple of years ago, I tell the story often, a couple of years ago, that my daughter, who's now 22, a couple of years ago said to me, "Why do you do this so much? Why do you like it so much?" And my immediate answer to her was, because the true stories are better than anything you could possibly make up. And usually that's because of funny things, but this was far and away one of the coolest things. When they got back to the command post and told me this, I was like, no shit. I mean, that's just awesome. And it really, really was. And my hat's off to all of them. I had to laugh if you could have heard Glenn telling me the story about how he's pushing wood behind him and it just stopped disappearing. And that's when he realized that they were running down the street. So that's kind of cool. But good on all of them. That's just great stuff. Great to be a part of. And one of the greatest things you can hear when a team comes back to the FOB, you hear a story like that. So good stuff. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dennis. And Glenn, yeah, thank you, man. There really is nothing more that encapsulates the true spirit behind being a gray shirt than seeing a clear need, not having a clear guidance, but still knowing the right thing to do and executing without hesitation. So all of our hats are off to you guys on that team. Just fucking awesome work. And also the rhythm on that clap was terrible. I expect you all to work very hard on getting better in sync before we perform the choreographed dance routine that will be part of our winter pageant. I am. All right. Let me go back to the deck. All right. I think we're back live again. All right, so some announcements of things going forward. This is kind of the big one right here, that if you guys didn't pick up on this from some of the announcements earlier about sort of wrapping up the Kick the King, the emergency food assistance programs, also kind of slowing down on Verily and some of the other initiatives. The organization is entering sort of a tactical pause at the moment, as we are going to be focusing more on our core services instead of a lot of the expanded capability work that we've been doing over the last 6 months of COVID. Couple of reasons for this. The big one is, just to be quite frank, money. We had some dedicated funding that was, came in from donors to support those initiatives, in particular, the EFA, the Verily work, and the food services. We burned through all that money. Then we burned through a lot of additional money. And at some point we came to the end of the money runway. And a lot of our, traditional major sponsors are kind of reassessing a lot of things right now in terms of the economy and the continuing impacts of COVID. So the organization is going to kind of draw back from the continued burn. This doesn't mean that Team Rubicon is in trouble. It doesn't mean that we are not going to continue to be very aggressive about responding to disasters of the core service work that you guys all joined up to do and are, to be quite frank, the industry experts in. It just means that a lot of the expanded stuff, which became day-to-day work for the organization, in particular because of demands created by COVID, are going to be paused by us until we can kind of reassess the picture of the organization and perhaps hopefully open up some new funding streams over the next couple of months here. So what that means for you guys as you kind of look at the horizon is, you know, if you do see like clear opportunities for need in front of you, please do bring them to our attention. We will run them up the flagpole. It just means that we're a little less open to taking on new things like the food banks and the testing and all that kind of work without like a clear way to make sure that we can be fiscally responsible and support that kind of work. That doesn't mean that that work can't continue. As has been mentioned several times, Neighbors Helping Neighbors is still an ongoing and open to all. So if you're still like, hey, I'm just looking to wear my gray shirt and do good work in my community, by all means, please do keep after your food banks, keep volunteering at testing centers. Those opportunities are still very much out there. And, you know, if you want to proudly wear your gray shirt and volunteer in your communities, not only are we okay with that, we actively encourage you to do it. It's just not going to be the formal sort of structured process that we've had over the last couple of months. And if you guys have more questions about that, please hit me up offline. I will answer it as fully and frankly as I can. Other kind of major things that I'm pretty excited about. We have 22 applicants out of the 100 in this latest round of CHFP Basecamp. What that tells me is you guys are doing an awesome job of getting the word out there to our veteran population, finding us some awesome recruits. I am pulling for each and every one of those 22 applicants. Unfortunately, I know that they can't all get in, but we'll continue to work to help those folks through the process. As we all know, it takes sometimes more than one go around to get in, and it remains kind of a really great program for those transitioning services. If you guys find them in your community, please point them in that direction. Salute to Service is next month. Salute to Service is the big annual fundraiser that we do. Typically, they do live auctions in New York and Dallas. This year, everything is going to be remote because of COVID, and there'll only be the one. It'll feature some kind of exciting things. They're going to do some live broadcasts from the ops, from Rebuild. I believe that John Stewart is the MC, which is a name I'm sure many of you know. So pretty excited to see that come together, and hopefully that gets some good stuff out the door for us. So closing thoughts for everybody as we march into October. First of all, thanks to all my presenters tonight, because this is probably the closest to that hour mark we've been in a couple of months, and I'm sure everyone on this call thanks you for that. It also puts the pressure on me to be very brief. Second of all, you guys have heard it a number of times from a number of people, but be very mindful of your own mental health and stability as we march into October. You heard Steve earlier. The need is continuing to be very watchful of our skies, because we obviously have a lot of weather threat that we're monitoring, looking forward to. You heard Elizabeth earlier. There continues to be a ton of need on the ground for gray shirts. So the work we know is there, but we want you as a gray shirt to be there, not just now in the storm season, but for many storm seasons to come. And the way to make sure that that happens is for you guys to take care of yourselves first and foremost. So please keep doing that, both in terms of work-life balance, but also in terms of just overall safety. Everywhere across the country right now, but a handful of states, COVID numbers are on the rise. The threat remains real, and just because we might be wanting for it to be over does not mean that the disease is any less dangerous. So please, 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 everyone be safe. Everyone kick lots of ass. If you are deploying soon, I hope to be out there this weekend, my surgeon's approval notwithstanding. So I'm hoping to see some of you guys in the field soon. The rest of you, I'm sure I'll see on a bunch of calls this week as we continue to monitor Delta's march across the Gulf. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's fucking crush it. And with that, I will stop the recording.